Hello, good evening. Hi, aloha, hallelujah. Yep, good. We are good. Hey, everybody. Live from Denver, it is Friday night. And this is another episode of Critical Conversations. We are back. And I don't know if I want to say better than ever, but certainly we are back. And as always, I am joined, or as almost always, I am joined by my beautiful wife.
Hello.
Beautiful wife, Melissa, right here. The apple in my eye, the light of my life, right here. Not kidding. And hey, everybody. So we're okay. So we're back. So we are going to do Critical Conversations, our weekly call-in show where we invite you to call us, give us a chat. Let's have a talk. Let's discuss things. This week we are sort of theming the show around higher powers. I thought, okay, well, let's do it. Let's bust the God barrier. I have I don't know. I can't remember if we did a show about this. I've certainly talked about God and higher powers and belief. You know, obviously, many times I've talked about it in my Q&A show. I've sort of talked about my beliefs and stuff. Okay, Maverick, I see your question here, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. But I wanted to finish this thought that I had started about the subject of the show. And so I did two back-to-back, a panel show and then a fundraising appearance on a group effort. There were a lot of people involved in this. I didn't organize these things. I was just part of them. And I was honored to be invited to be part of those. The fundraiser was for the Recovering from Religion group. And they're good folks, and they definitely should be supported. And then that's Dr. Daryl Ray's group. So you can look that up, and you should check that out. And then anyway, and then I did some other panel thing, and it just kind of got me in the atheist frame of mind. And so I was like, oh, what are we going to talk about today? Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about God. Sure, why not? Let's talk about higher powers even. I wanted to expand it out. I didn't want to just focus on God because, hey, if you believe in a whole pantheon, if you believe in a Norse mythology or, Greek, Roman gods, whatever, then it's gods. Then your higher powers are not just God, right? And there's no reason to limit it to one guy. So anyway, that's why I put that there. Now, Maverick, you asked a question here. Let's go ahead and see this because it looked kind of serious. My brother's speech teacher is using mind control and brainstorming to make my brother go to a Friday game night Zoom meeting every week. How can I help my brother avoid being brainwashed? Okay, your brother's speech teacher? Go to a Friday game night Zoom meeting every week. Oh, that's interesting.
I think we need more details.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to need a little bit more details. Brainwashing at a Friday night game night is a little too general for me to be able to give real serious advice about that. I can't actually tell if it's a serious question or not. But if it is, then, I'm happy to talk about it. You can also give us a call. Hey, Couch, thank you for that super chat. The call-in line is 984-214-4154. And that phone line is active and open right now, I believe. Yes, it is. Yes, Couch, all is well. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Hey, Henny. Hey, everybody. So now we need to check in, though, with Seven. And there he is. Now this is quite different from earlier weeks. Sometimes we find him and he's just sleeping.
Yeah.
And he's just totally zonked out or chilling.
A little active.
That's right. There he is. He was actually even eyeballing the camera for a second, which is very rare.
Unusual, yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time when he hears the camera, it's lights out, lights off. He's out of here. So anyway, there's our little bundle of fun and fur. Our little love bundle.
The only kind of bundle we're gonna have.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that ship has sailed as far as us having kids, and that's okay. We're okay with that. That's not some tragic thing to be sorry about. Oh, Mark. Either side. I like the term not agnostic until the term God is defined, then I might be able to say yes, no, or otherwise. Well, Mark, that's exactly along the lines of how I think about this sort of thing too. And Debbie, a different amount of time goes into prepping the show. She asked here how much time goes into prepping for our shows, and sometimes a great amount of time. In fact, we've got a show I'm going to totally blindside Melissa right now, because we've got a show we're planning on doing that we've been prepping for weeks. She's actually been reading and studying some material and putting some stuff together to do a show. And I'm going to totally not spoil it because it's actually really cool. So it can go from that to, I think most of the time we do a little bit of looking, a little bit of researching, or at least I talk to some people or try to find out something. So, you know, but not as much, say, as some of the other videos I've produced. So, yeah. Okay. They're awesome. Wish some of you guys would call in with some of these questions. These are great. Where'd you get Seven, and why is he a kitten? That is...
Yeah, he was a kitten. He was 2
What?
months old when I got him. I know everyone always says this is the wrong thing to do, but I did get him from like a pet store in a mall, and I still think I rescued him, because if he wasn't bought from that store in the mall, who knew what had happened to him? It was, but I just saw him there, and you know how cats are. He picked me. He was like, "Hey," and I went to play with him in the little playroom, and that was it.
There you go. The story of Seven. And, okay, that's funny. And my shirt, by the way, says exercise. I thought you said extra fries. And that, yes, that is 100% consistent with my moral code. So I kind of eschew exercise. I probably shouldn't, but I do. Okay, so, and we have a caller in the queue.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and take this. Diane, I believe. Hello.
Oh, hello, Chris
Hey.
and Melissa. How
Hello.
are you guys?
We're good. How are you this evening?
Oh, you know, hanging in there after this long, long, long year.
I hear you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, today's a big day. I mean, I just saw on Aaron Smith-Levin's channel that the feds are investigating Narconon in addition to the FBI, the FBI arrest of GPC capital? I'm not sure.
Yeah, GBP.
Guys.
I think it's GBP, or I can't actually ever remember it either, but I think it's GBP capital. David Gentili.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of, I'm starting to wonder if they're actually maybe building a case to take away their tax exemption.
Well, that's an awful long way. Okay, so let's be clear. That is an awful long way from where we're at now. So I definitely am tentatively excited about what's happening right now. Basically, for you guys out there, if I might take a moment, Diane, to explain this.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's a guy named David Gentili, and he was arrested by the FBI. He is now out on bail, by the way. But he did get arrested, and he was charged with a fairly lower grade charge with the potential of higher grade charges, more serious charges being brought. There's certainly apparently evidence, and the case is pretty complicated. It involves money and investments and kind of an investment scheme. And it doesn't appear that Scientologists were being taken in by this scheme, but it's very possible. It's not certain or sure at all right now, but it's possible that some of this money, which was fraudulently obtained by David Gentili, which is why he was arrested, and these other guys who were involved in this, it's possible that some of that money, or maybe a great deal of that money, was used to maybe purchase some of those properties in downtown Clearwater, or maybe be used for other Scientology purposes. It's not clear yet. And there are we need to get a lot more data as far as what kind of evidence they have before we can get too excited about how far this will go towards going after the Church of Scientology. Right now, it's a kind of a finance fraud case, as I understand it. But the Scientology connection is kind of undeniable. And that's what's kind of exciting about this, because this Gentili guy is pretty mixed up with other whale-type Scientologists, very moneyed people. And so there's potential here for very interesting things to happen. And the FBI is not particularly being forthcoming on how they're going to go about prosecuting the case yet. But that's kind of everything I can tell you in the most conservative way I know how to communicate about it, so I don't contribute to any miscommunication about what this is about or how this is going, as I understand it. Anyway, I don't know, Diane, does that line up with everything you've heard so far?
Absolutely. But, I just feel like, wow, maybe the government is like finally kind of narrowing in on a lot of these shady things that Scientology is doing. And that gives me hope.
It does. It should. And I'm not trying to take that hope away. I'm just letting you know that I've had my hopes up before, and and I was wrong for having them up before, so I'm trying to be cautious, but I'm not trying to discourage any excitement about this. It is exciting. From our perspective, it's definitely a good move on the FBI's part, and they are aware, I know for a fact, that they are aware of the Scientology connection. So it's not just a sort of, well, we hope. We know they know, and we know the FBI has earlier experience with Scientology. So I'm hoping, I really, really am hoping that they go for it with this one. And if they do, and if they've got the evidence for it, this could be really, really interesting. Because one potential outcome here, if this really goes all the way, and if these guys' hands are as dirty as we suspect they might be, the Church of Scientology might lose some of those downtown properties if they were purchased with illegal funds, fraudulently obtained funds. So I looked that up in legal precedent, and that's a thing. So so there's reason to be excited.
Definitely. But yeah, just both of these stories coming out today is like, wow.
Yeah.
They're under the microscope. Scientology is under the microscope. I dig it.
Yep, me too. It's cool, huh?
Yep.
What do you think, babe?
Yeah, it's great. If they can, whatever way they can find to take him down would be fine with me.
Well, that's sort of the thing. I mean, if it's if it's the Al Capone tax, evasion, then fine. However it's done, we know that these guys are up to abusive stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's okay with me that they come in on an odd attack mode or vector or whatever you want to call it to get them.
Whatever you got to do.
I mean, it's obviously as long as it's still true, which is what we want.
Right.
And
exactly.
And we know that they're a destructive cult, so we know they're going to do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I've totally dominated the conversation, Diana. Did you have more you wanted to say about that? Because I didn't mean to.
No, not at all. I mean, seriously, just seeing both those stories come out today, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's really promising. That they're looking at all the fringe groups or cover groups or whatever you want to call them, and they're taking a hard look at them, and that is encouraging. That's all.
Big time. Well, agreed. Well, thank you very much for calling in.
Yep.
Awesome.
Talk to you.
All right. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Cool. I hope I didn't tamp on the enthusiasm too much there by being all conservative.
I mean, I get it. I know I've seen you excited about stuff, and then it doesn't.
Yeah, it's just
go where you want it to go.
No, that would be the thing. Oh, thank you, Copy Trading, for your super chat there. Wow, from Ireland. Damn. I am constantly blown away by overseas fans and people around outside the U.S. who are into what I do in my show. This is awesome. Do I think if Miscavige went straight that he'd be a good financial advisor, or do you think he'd just excel at corruption? David Miscavige ain't going to excel at anything except being a cult leader. The guy's not built for it. He doesn't have any skill set outside of it. And I don't think he would be a very successful person in any line of professional pursuit. He would be the kind of person who would probably start a... I mean, if he were to... I was going to say start a podcast or something, but I sort of think like along the lines of the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
Or something like that. You know, not that the Wolf of Wall Street was as bad as Miscavige, actually, in very, very different cases. But
yeah,
I just don't think he would be very successful at very many things. He's all talk and very, very little skill set. It's actually the incompetence of David Miscavige is something we've been talking about lately. And we've got my talk with Jeff Hawkins a couple weeks ago. You guys might want to check that out if you haven't seen it, because we really go into some detail about Miscavige's competence. And then tomorrow we have a podcast going up with Aaron, which he and I did a couple days ago. So we didn't get to comment on all this exciting stuff from today. We are talking more generally and more broadly about Clearwater, but in that conversation, Miscavige and his intentions and competence also features prominently. We got a whole section where we talk about that, so you guys can we'll look forward to that. Okay, and we have another call in the queue here going. Is screening through the process right now. Good, so I will let him do that. Now, I did want to... Oh, what's this now? Comment Eileen Warner. All right. Hello, you are on. Hi.
So, this is not the topic of the show right now, but I was watching old interviews, and I was watching one with you and John Atack.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys were talking about psychopaths and sociopaths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at some point he was like, of course there are female psychopaths like Eileen Wuornos. And I was kind of taken aback by that because I don't know if I consider her a psychopath. So I was just like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, good question. Now, Eileen Wuornos is the serial killer we're talking about here?
Yeah, she was a
Oh, she's the one who murdered the 7 men.
Yeah.
She was played in the movie by Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because she was, I mean, the thing is, I know prostitution is a very uncomfortable subject for a lot of people, but if you look at the research, like, people who work in that trade and who exit it have higher PTSD symptoms than people who are, like, veterans, basically. So, and I feel like she was raped from like a very, very young age, and then only made money, you know, prostituting herself to, I don't think, you know, very nice people.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Just from what I read, it sounded very much like it was a kind of reaction to the trauma and not a thought out murder spree that I would imagine.
Yeah, she had a terrible childhood too. Like there was one point where she was living in one of her friend's dad's cars. I watched a documentary a long time ago about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like okay. I don't think she was a nice person as an adult at all. But she feels like the type of person who was so severely traumatized that you're just like, okay. Like she started prostituting herself at like 14 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely will empathize with that in terms of, you know, having a rough early life. But I do think that we have to also look at the fact of how one goes about reacting to that trauma or that life. Because the vast majority of people, the vast majority of people who experience deep trauma actually even worse than hers, don't then go murder people.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
So we can definitely talk about how, you know, traumatic childhood experience or, you know, trauma, stress, anxiety, etc. through life and built on top of a rough childhood can create a kind of pathology. But I still think that when you're you're killing people as a solution to problems, and especially this many people, because we're talking about 7 guys within 12 months. I'm no expert on this case, and I am not trying to speak as one on this. I'm really just kind of throwing out some data and saying, well, I wouldn't necessarily dismiss John's assessment that she was psychopathic. That could still be here, but I would want to consult a professional on that before I really talked about it, in terms of a yes, no, she is or she isn't. I'll just say I'm open to the possibility that there could still be psychopathology there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's such a weird case for me because I keep up with a lot of those crimes, and there's so many times I've seen, I think there's like a famous case that's maybe Texas. It's somewhere in the U.S. I'm sorry, I don't know the specifics.
Yeah.
But there was a man who essentially killed a prostitute that he, visited because she was like, I don't want to have sex with you. And he pleaded theft of service or like theft of goods. And he was, acquitted based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm just like, I think that's more of my point of view, where I'm always thinking of the double standards.
Absolutely. And
like I said, I don't think I would want to hang out with Eileen.
No. I know I wouldn't want to.
Definitely was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think definitely was not,
right.
entirely there with the morals and stuff like that. It's just like so interesting to see. The way. Yeah. Because there's definitely female psychopaths. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. They're out there. Oh my God. Yeah, for sure. I think it just manifests differently sometimes. And
that's right.
What have they said? That sometimes it goes more undercover, or they get convicted for crimes that are kind of different from what male psychopaths.
That's right.
But they're there. Like, I'm not denying that.
Absolutely. Well, you make a good point, and of course, the devil is in the details with these things. When we
for sure.
And also, of course, the fact of the matter is that when we start talking about terms like narcissism, psychopathy, sociopathy, you really got to be clear. What definition are you using? How do you define this? How do you clinically determine this? Because these are broad-based terms, and they've been so used in the common vernacular that they've kind of lost any specialized meaning in many ways. I remember years ago, I did a whole podcast with Rachel about narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy, and what's the difference? and it was a little loosey-goosey, right? It was a little, So
yeah, I watched that episode. I was like, very interesting.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of nuance.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, it's a word. It describes a pathology. Does it apply to her? Maybe, maybe not. Did she do bad things? Yeah. Should she have been killed for it? Probably not, but I'm not a believer in the death penalty, period. So, I don't.
That's a whole different topic, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I kind of just skirting right over the edge of that one. Yeah,
I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I agree with you, though. So, yeah.
So, well, anyway, thank you very much for calling in and bringing that up. That's an interesting topic for sure.
Well, thank you for hosting the show. I was just like, well, no one's calling, so I'm just going to take up the airtime.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing so. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, I'll keep watching.
Awesome. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. And this is now Penny to speak about our higher power. Penny.
Hi.
Penny.
Yes, there you go. It's me.
Hey, Henny, what's up?
Hi. Hey, I hope you're feeling better. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
Hi, Devin. Are you feeling better, Chris?
I am.
Sure hope so.
I am. Yeah, last week was rough. I don't know what to say except, sometimes you have a down.
That's right. And you're entitled. So, that's it. We appreciate you and we understand. You know, you're not alone, darling. And I'm glad you're better.
Yes,
and
thank you.
you know how I always get off topic, but I'm entitled. At my age, I'm entitled to get off topic. I wanted to say hi, Melissa. I hear you. I wish I could hug you. You taught me about cancel culture, and I remember asking you what that was, and for you to explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had gotten into a conversation about Anita Bryant and how I understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to say that this was very prevalent this week with Mike Mandel, or I don't know.
Oh, Lindell, yes, the My Pillow guy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is what it was all about, okay? Because this is very important. He's losing, what he created, and everybody's dropping him. And this is what cancel culture is about. And so this was his opportunity, really, to say, listen, it shouldn't be, that I'm being penalized this way because I'm thinking that way. And he totally missed it. He totally missed it. Whether he has made enough money that he don't need those damn pillows anymore, or he, is following a very cultic thing, which I have to say, I really do, has been so prevalent within their beliefs. I mean, to see Mike Pence back him and know that he was, he would have had to have given his life. You know what I mean? To me, is shocking.
Yeah.
It's like a cultic thing, and that becomes all number one.
That's right.
All number one.
That's right.
And I also want to point out that I recall very vividly Donald Trump saying that he doesn't believe that he lost. He believes that he didn't win, or something along those lines, and that the new administration was taking over. In my opinion, that's as close to an admission as you're going to get. So having said that, anything else thereafter is, I don't know. It's not the truth, obviously.
Well, that's the thing. It's not, and if he had the truth on his side, it would be a whole different matter.
Yeah.
It's just so delusional.
Obviously.
It's just so delusional, And I actually checked out a little bit of this documentary. Did you know that Lindell put up a documentary?
I heard that he was supposed to.
It's up. It's on OAN. It's on their network, One America Network.
Okay.
It's apparently a 2 or 3 hour, written by him, produced by him. But what you'll find amusing is the disclaimer at the beginning of the documentary that OAN, which is a network that is pro-Trump, extremely conservative, right? Extremely hardcore right-wing. And they took great pains to have a spoken disclaimer at the beginning of this documentary that is a full page long that says, we ain't endorsing this. This isn't us. We're not saying this, right? So this guy's message is pretty toxic. It's pretty out there.
I saw his message when I thought that he was going to defend himself under the cancel culture.
Yeah,
I really did. That's what I expected to hear.
Yeah, he didn't even go there.
Not fair.
Yeah.
No, he didn't go there.
Well, it's also a little hard to make a cancel culture case when your documentary is being featured on a mainline media channel, right? I mean, it's a little hard to go, I've been canceled when I said, he is showing what is important to him. Yeah.
And what's important to him is that he follow a lie. And, Stephen Hassan mentioned, thank goodness, again, he reminded me that Goebbels, who worked for Hitler, said Okay? A lie said once is a lie. And a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth.
Exactly.
And I just, yes, and it really is. It really is. It's amazing. It's
That's
amazing.
Right. That's how it works.
And so I wanted to thank you for that lesson because, you know, and I'm glad that he didn't get it. Okay, I really am. It shows his insanity.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what we need. I also just wanted to briefly mention that woman who, you know, said those really crazy things and who was acting in a way that was, I have to say, Chris, let me just say it as quick as I can. And then I'll let you go because I really
keep
want to
going.
watch you guys.
Are you talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Oh, I hate the name.
That woman.
I just, yes, that's what I call her. Okay?
Yep.
Because here's the way I think. Okay? You know I'm a grandmother, but I'm a mother first. Okay?
Yep.
And if that had been my son that she was behind and spewing that rhetoric bullshit, okay? She wouldn't have had a chance to pull that loaded gun out of her fucking bag. She wouldn't have had a chance, okay?
All right.
Because as his mother, okay? No, come on.
No, I hear you.
Understand what the truth is.
No, I hear you. Yes.
And just like her beliefs with 9/11, any job I ever had, if I spewed that rhetoric, I would have been fired.
Exactly.
I would have been fired.
Exactly.
Okay?
I will actually join you here because I got something to say about this woman too, and I'd like to kind of put it out there because I've put it out there on Twitter, but you know who cares, right?
No, I care.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
And
tweets are like
they
come, they go, right? Listen, I think this woman's actually clinical. I think she actually is clinically insane, and
I do too.
what her, you know, and it's not just because she has a belief set, it's what she does with it and what she justifies with it. And you got to pay attention to this stuff because it's not just about somebody having an idea in their head and that's why they're a bad person. I got all kinds of Nazi ideas in my head from reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, but I'm not a Nazi because I don't do those things. I don't execute those beliefs. Marjorie Taylor Greene is,
and you're not,
right?
Yes, and you're not someone who's influential within the Congress.
Well, exactly.
Right.
I'm not a lawmaker, and this is what this is really highlighting. Lauren Boebert from Colorado here, and Marjorie Taylor Greene are both highlighting for us right now the desperate need for some qualifications or standards to be put in place for people to run for elected office, at least at the federal level. You know, and I believe that I don't think it's outlandish to ask for a psychological workup or, you know, a psychiatric, you know, makeup or once over.
Might have to fire a lot of Congress.
Well, we also want it. And we also want it, and we expect it from our police. We want our police vetted, do we not?
That's right.
Yes.
As I've gone over in great detail, I want police really vetted. Yeah.
So then, you know what? How about them too? Okay, especially people who are lawmakers.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because you know, the Holocaust was there, and we were called vermin. And now, according to her, we're laser shooting, fire producing. You know, I think of Godzilla. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jewish people, and it's so insane. And she has the right to think that way. That's her prerogative. She can. Many people have insanity, but she certainly can't be a lawmaker.
No.
Okay, and I don't care how many things you take away. You got to take away her job.
I agree with you.
So with that, I'm going back to watching your wonderful show. I adore all of you. Melissa, Seven, Chris, I'm glad you're feeling better. Hug, and that's what I had to say, darling.
Awesome, Henny.
You rock. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right,
Good
bye-bye.
night.
Henny's always so awesome. And so are these super chats, guys. Thank you very much for those. I didn't get you by name on all of those, but yeah, exactly. Still waiting for your Jewish space laser, Flint? Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, Brexit. That would explain it because of all the new tariffs and everything. And it hasn't arrived yet, right? The Jewish space laser. Yeah, I wish I had a space laser too. That would really be something. IQ tests for politicians would cause riots. Yeah,
there's a lot of politicians that wouldn't do well.
That's right. Okay, I'm sorry if I've missed some of your comments, guys. And when I get into a phone call, I kind of stop paying attention to that and just move on because I want to pay attention to the person I'm talking to more than anything else. But yeah, exactly. It makes you wonder what her constituency is like. Well, I can tell you one thing, though, by the way, about Marge Taylor Greene is I've been watching this with more than a little bit of idle interest, and she already has people from her district. I believe it's Georgia 14th district. I think it's 14th. Anyway, she's already got people putting campaign funds together and work together to run against her in a year and a half when the because these are only 2-year terms, right? She's a House of Representatives member, not a senator. So she's only got 2 years up there. As far as I know, the only way to get somebody kicked out of office is to do a recall. And I don't know if the constituents of Georgia 14th or whatever are up for that. I'm positive the guys in Lauren Boebert's rural district are not going to recall her. But I do know that there's also talk there of people already getting ready to take her place in a year and a half, 2 years when we reelect, when we have new elections on that. So, yeah, we gotta
please get rid of her.
Yeah,
she's an embarrassment.
It's bad. Okay, so, am I going to watch the Lloyd Evans video tomorrow? I am not aware of the Lloyd Evans video tomorrow, so you'll have to enlighten me on that. Let us check back in with 7, though. Yes. We have not checked in with 7.
It's always important to see what
and
he's
it
up
is
to.
always important. He's still on the couch?
Just chilling.
That is amazing. He's usually not there. Well, he's not usually there like that. Like he usually chills there. That's actually exactly where he sits, but he usually puts his head down.
Spots. Yeah.
And he's usually kind of turned the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like kind of ready to pounce there. It's interesting.
Activated.
Yes. And it's funny when he sits on you, his tail will just beat on you like that. You know, just like that there. He just
likes to smack you in the face.
He does. He just smacks you with it. He'll just sit there. He's totally chill, and his tail is just whacking you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I guess I'll check out that Lloyd Evans video.
Yeah.
Okay. So now... Yeah, we're not getting very far with the higher power topic. In fact, no. I'm glad you brought that up because I was just about to get back onto it. I knew we were going to get into the Scientology stuff. I knew I wasn't going to have to necessarily get into a thing on that because somebody was going to bring it up. So I'm glad we did. But let's talk about higher powers for a second. And if you guys want to call in and talk to us about that, I am really down. I am not trying to be the atheist asshole who sits here and tells you how it is. But I also am not particularly super interested in being told reversely that, you know, there is a God and that's how it is. Like, really? You convince me, right? Like this is an opportunity to try to convince me of that if you guys want to do that. Now, of course, every week I am more than happy to entertain these kind of calls. and I didn't, you know, and I want to converse about it. I don't want to argue about it necessarily, although it could go there on that kind of a topic, and that might be kind of fun. So if you feel like you have either one, something you want to share with us about God belief or gods or higher power belief, I am all ears. And if you want to try to convince me that there is a God, that would be an even more fascinating phone call. Because I would like to hear somebody try to convince me that that is absolutely positively true. Yes, exactly, Kevin. You got that right about the gun nuts. The conspiracy guys really do give you guys a bad name. And it always gets blown out of proportion, of course, you know, because it's a threat. And we're all about being tuned into threats. So any kind of thing in the environment that could be potentially going to get us is going to be blown out of proportion by our media. You know, it's just the way of the world, I guess. Oh, that's interesting. Is it arrogant for atheists to self-describe themselves as their own God? I heard someone call it atheism. That's an interesting question. I want your answer on that. What do you think?
Yeah, calling yourself your own God seems a little arrogant to me. I mean, come on, really?
Yeah, I think so too. Oh my God. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, Lloyd's doing his thing on the annual JW meeting. Sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, exactly. Listens to the extremists, shuts everyone down. That's right. Tried a 12-step program with the higher power stuff, just didn't work for me. Yeah, it's an interesting mixed bag with that, you know, and that's actually one of the reasons that bringing up the 12-step programs, though, is one of the things that I will say is sometimes necessary for people. Not because I want it to be that way. I wish it was different, actually. I wish that people in prisons or people on Skid Row or people in, you know, really down and out who have hit bottom situations could use pure rationality or critical thinking or, you know, a skeptic, you know, reasoning mind to climb out of that gutter. But the fact of the matter is that emotionally, most of those folks aren't there. And there is an emotional support component to recovery and to climbing out of that hole.
Yes.
And the higher power function kind of serves in many functions: inspiration, support, a watchful eye, a disciplinary measure even, right? A threat. I mean, there's a lot of things that a God belief does that can materially assist a person. Again, not because I want it to be that way, but just because it visibly is that way. And some of those people, if we're really going to be honest, really didn't have another road out. Not practically speaking. I mean, sure, in some airy-fairy theoretical sense, if we all had wonderful prison programs and there was secular recovery programs that were, you know, tuned and scientific and working, you know, then I might be able to sing a different tune about this. But the fact of the matter is that it's just not that way. And so the practicality of it is that sometimes a God belief does save people's lives. And I got to acknowledge that as part of the problem or situation or existing circumstance here, because if we want to move the world toward a more skeptical, critical thinking world, and I do want that, then we have to recognize the positivity of what these beliefs do and the culture of the belief set, not just thinking about it as some stupid idea a person has. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there because I don't think it's possible that we're going to deconvert or make a successful impact on society in a secular way if we don't learn some tolerance and learn how to talk to these folks on a plane where they'll feel respected. You know, I don't know, crazy idea, I'm sure. But I did want to comment on that because and the only reason I am commenting on it is because I want to see the atheist community or the secular community do better at these conversations and at these efforts to try to bring reason and skepticism and critical thinking to religious conversations. I think I think it only helps everybody if we can be that way. I know for a fact that we're not going to get to all the extremist evangelical fundy believers or the cultists. I know we're not going to. But there are a lot of people on a fence. And if you insult them, they'll stay on that fence or they'll kick over to the other side. If you welcome them, if you talk with them with some dignity, you know, offering them some dignity and respect, then they might be more willing to jump off that fence and come over to your side, you know. So that was just something I wanted to throw out there because I'm always about giving advice. Now, as far as a God belief, where do you stand as an atheist?
Yeah.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, let's see, 1 being total uncertainty and then 10 being total certainty, where would you say your lack of God belief is at?
Probably like an 8 or 9.
Okay.
I mean, there's a small chance, that something created it, but I don't feel like it's anything any religion on earth has ever figured out. But like, I mostly believe there probably isn't, but there's like, I'm not going to say 100% because there's no way to ever say 100% because you just don't know unless something happens to show you.
I agree. We get along really well on this point.
Yeah.
Because I agree too. I feel that there is the possibility of a higher power. There's, is this all there is, and has this existed forever? I like to think no and no, and maybe there's something else to know about all of this. So I sort of put my certainty. I think on that same question, I would probably say a 6 or a 7, maybe 6.5, maybe for me. I'm more open to the idea that there is something, but as I've said before, someone's going to have to convince me because I have yet to see a single ounce of evidence for a belief in anything, any kind of God figure that people have come up with. There hasn't been a religion yet that has come across my plate that I've been, oh, I like that. That sounds like how it is. Most of them sound exactly the opposite to me. Mm-hmm. And you guys know how I feel about organized religions. Let's just say I have a contentious relationship with the entire concept. And that to me is the biggest problem with religion, is the abuses that occur at the organized religion level. I think that's where a lot of our problems exist with this subject, more so than the idea of individual belief or dancing around trees in the forest. I don't think people really care too much if you're running around doing that. Doesn't hurt you, doesn't hurt anybody else. What's the big deal, right? So religious practice,
yeah.
When it's not abusive, when it's not harmful, right?
When you're just minding your own business, doing your own thing.
Right. When it gets to the abusive stuff, the coercive control stuff, when it gets into culty stuff, obviously that's where we all have a problem with it.
Well, when they start legislating things and
trying
to force other people into it,
Yeah, exactly. The whole separation of church and state thing. Yeah, exactly. One of the reasons I got in Scientology was that they had all the answers. That's right. That's and that's the other thing about religion is that this higher power belief. Like, I understand that there are people who can't deal with not having answers. Mm-hmm. It's difficult. See, I would actually like to engage with skeptics or atheists who believe that we can have a world without religion, because I'd like to know, okay, how do we get there, and how do we, you're not just talking about a set of ideas, you're talking about a culture. Religion is a whole thing. It exists at many levels. And so how do we, core that out of a society when the people who make up that society are uncertain, unsure, have no answers, about life beyond, or where life came from, why life exists, purpose, meaning. I mean, these are things that are very difficult questions for the vast majority of the population, which is why they turn to religion in the first place, or stick with it, even after they've been indoctrinated with it as children, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah, you gotta, if you want to plan it without religion, then you have to find something just as good to replace it with, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That will keep people, whatever religion gives people, then you got to find some other way to give it to them.
Well, exactly. And so far, I haven't seen scientific facts give a whole lot of emotional comfort to people in the same way that a God belief does.
Exactly.
So it's not really it's a little bit of a false equivalency to go, well, religion is just a belief set and science is just a belief set, and so you can just substitute one for the other. Got some interesting questions coming in here, which I want to address. First off, Kevin asks, what are your thoughts on people who use belief in a higher power as an excuse to get out of vaccinations? Kindly shut up and sit down and take your shot, please. Yeah, that's pretty much my thought on that.
Yeah, I think unless you have a medical reason to not get vaccinated, everybody else needs to be vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly. And here's another great question for Scientology. Is the eighth dynamic supposed to be an external worshipable God, or is it the goal of becoming a God? And here's the great answer for you, Nick. It's both at the same time. Scientology basically promises godhood at the level that we currently think about gods, like a Christian God. An all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing entity that potentially can exist across all of space and time at any one moment, can have awareness of all of space and time at any moment. This is a thetan at its ultimate native state, as Hubbard describes it. So our understanding of what a thetan in native state is pretty much our understanding of what God is. And this is actually one of the reasons I have for thinking that our man-made concepts of a superior, higher power are just so much mucky muck, because I don't think if there's a living entity that lives as we understand life, that is capable of creating this entire universe and everything in it, including all of us, the size and scope of this thing, the insignificance of us in this thing, this big, broad universe, convinces me, if anything, that there is no one paying attention, or if they are, they're not paying attention in a way we can even understand.
Right. They're not interactive with us.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's where I tend to come down on this stuff, more so than trying to say, yes, there is, or no, there isn't. For me, that's why I go agnostic. I just go, how am I supposed to know? How is anyone supposed to know? You might as well ask a microbe to describe a human being. Forget it. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not possible. That's literally how I think about it. So, right. What was Seven doing yesterday? Sleeping.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There are questions that have no answers. That's exactly right. And, okay, then there was a question. If I was you. All right, so there we go with that. Let me move back up here. I'm just laughing at some of these comments. You guys are awesome. Chris Shelton, would you agree that Christian nationalists and dominionists are just cults that have adopted camouflage to hide in plain sight? Yes. You saw me pause there because I had to think about that for a second, because it's a broad question, and giving a broad answer can be dangerous. But I will say that in a general sense, Christian nationalism and dominionism, as say Clint Haycock and I have discussed it, as seen on documentaries like The Family, or some of these where these religious groups, the evangelicals, these are Christian nationalism and dominionism are very specific things. It's not just a broad God belief. These are folks who have a dedicated political agenda, and they are driving forward to create a theocracy in the United States. That's literally their stated goals. I'm not making that up. It's not conspiracy theory. It's not some weird idea I have. It's literally posted on their websites. So, you can do some research on that and check it out if you have questions about it. But yeah, I would definitely say that these are cultic activities. There's a heavy us versus them, heavy othering of anybody who is not in those groups, in other words. There is a very, very heavy might is right, our way or the highway kind of thinking. There isn't another way to do this. There isn't some other path to glory in God's image and name and all of that, and being saved and that whole belief set. All of this is very, very rigid with these particular groups. So I will say in a broad sense that, yeah, there's cultic activity there for sure. act, the golden rule, acceptance, the good Samaritan. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not, it does give moral clarity. That is actually a positive of religion in some ways. But of course, we are going to have our issues where that morality butts heads with our morality. And, like abortion is murder versus mothers have a choice over, their own body. I mean, these are tough issues. Yes. Tough. And so people who have deep religious beliefs are going to fall on this other side. They have different, it's a moral conversation more so than a religious one, but religion gets all mixed up into it. Yeah, exactly. Given multiple universes, infinite universes, would such a being, super being is inevitable, would such a being show any interest in us? Yeah, no. Would you? I mean,
what are they watching us on God TV?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Now let me go back up to somebody's mentioning Bert's super chat question, and I think I missed it. Oh yeah, that was what I was addressing. Yeah, the one about would such a being care about us? Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so, and that's why I think that just for my critical thinking or skepticism or whatever, I just think that it's to me it's a fascinating academic exercise watching religious belief and what it does to people. And of course, there's a line up until I'm okay with it, and then there's a line where I'm not okay with it, right? And I think most of us are on the same page with that. So yeah. Hey, thanks, Flint. Thank you very much for that. That's awesome. Yeah, are they destructive cults is the question. And when I'm talking about us versus them and that kind of thing, I am talking destructive cults. No question about it. I do believe that Christian nationalism and dominionism are destructive activities for what our country is, how it is literally constituted. I think that this is a group of people who are a minority of people who want to enact their views on the majority of people, and their views are faith-based, not scientific, not rational, not, that's something that everybody could agree with because it's based on natural science or law. It's religion. And so I'm going to have to push back on that because I don't agree with that religion or those ideas. Okay. Yeah, exactly. We are just entertainment for the gods, kind of like in mythology. See, I think that's I've talked to Melissa about this. I mean, we've talked about this. I've thought a scientific experiment, a simulation, or, some kind of game makes a lot more sense than this whole worship thing.
Yeah.
A lot more sense to me. Given our current context of technology and stuff, of course, we'd be thinking that way. Maybe in 100 years, we'll have some new version of technology, or we'll be digital by then or something, and we'll be thinking God was digital the whole time. Who knows, right? We always contextualize this stuff always within the framework of our understanding, too. Mm-hmm. But I am much more open to the idea, literally scientifically, I'm open to the idea of this all being a simulation.
Someone's project.
Yeah. Or this being, the entire universe being one of many universes that could be considered in a petri dish to a God being who is just running experiments on a whole universe at a time. I mean, why not? If we're talking about, God-like beings and creation and stuff like that. Who's to say that's not the model? Why does it have to be this worship model, Lots of possibilities. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Flint. That's the problem, is that destroying our democracy is not something I want to see happen.
Exactly.
At all. So, so there is that. Okay, so I think we addressed higher powers here. I think we talked about some stuff I wanted to talk about. You got to talk?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. All right, well, with that, we are going to check in with time to sterilize the Petri dish. Please no. Okay, I actually really want us to continue, and I really want us to succeed. And the scorched earth policy of let's get rid of humanity. I've been there, man. I even jokingly, I get it. But I want us to make it. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we do. Okay. Let us consult the cards. First, though, let us check back in with our final go on 7. Okay, third time is the charm. There he is, kind of looking towards the TV.
He heard something.
What's happening? What's he doing? This is fun. He'll be sitting there, and we'll just be watching TV or whatever, and you look over at him, and suddenly he'll go alert. And you'll be like, what's happening? And he's just doesn't... Now, sometimes he'll go running or jumping, and other times he just loses interest. Yeah, there he is. Little 7. Remember, it's 7. It is hashtag 7 the Wonder Cat. If you are going to refer to him on social media, that is how to do it. All right, let us look at the critical thinking cards and choose our critical thinking card of the week at random from the logical fallacies, 24 logical fallacies, 24 cognitive biases. That is what this deck of cards represents. And here is the random choice for this week. Your fallacy is composition/division. Okay, assuming that what's true about one part of something has to be applied to all of it or other parts of it. Oh, this is actually really good because I've described this fallacy without having the name for it in talking about how people buy into Scientology. Because you go into Scientology and you do a basic course, and somebody asked me earlier about, how they were winning on basic courses, and do I have any explanation for that? Yeah, of course I do. Basic Scientology courses are common sense principles. Almost exclusively. There's nothing fantastic or exciting or wonderful in Scientology basic courses. Those are just meant to bring you in with something useful to your life on an immediate practical basis. That's what those courses are for. They're designed to be helpful. They are, in fact, the most helpful part of Scientology. That is the only place where you have honest, actual help on a limited, real-world, practical basis, not some spiritual attainment of immortality. That's the Scientology basic courses. But the fallacy comes in when people do 1 or 2 or 3 of these courses and then think because those courses were so wonderful, all of Scientology must be wonderful. Right? That's a fallacy. There's how it works. Now, the example given on the card, which I would always want to read, is Daniel was a precocious child and had a liking for logic. He reasoned that atoms are invisible and that he was made of atoms and therefore was invisible too. Unfortunately, despite his thinky skills, he lost the game of hide and go seek. So there you go. All right. So I think we had a couple examples there of this fallacy. And there you go. That's actually true. The reverse is true. One bad idea doesn't mean the whole subject is all bad.
Yes,
good point,
exactly.
Xenu. Very good point. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You guys are getting it. Then they get you. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming around. Your super chats were awesome. We always appreciate the support. And this was a fun show.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did this show. I had fun here. Thank you very much for everybody who called in. You guys were awesome. And watch for the podcast tomorrow with Aaron Smith-Levin. I am sorry we won't be talking about the events of today because we recorded it a few days ago, but I do think you guys are going to find our conversation quite interesting. It's all about Clearwater. And there's a lot in there, so I think you guys will enjoy that. It's a little more than an hour. And then, of course, we'll do our usual Q&A on Sunday. So, all right, guys, see you next week. Let's wrap it up.